Welcome to Love to See It, a podcast about men who behave in just bone chilling ways on television where everyone can see, everyone around the world.
I'm shuddering right now just thinking about it. We're obviously talking about Temptation Island here, a reality show that's really a mix between group therapy and sociopath exposure therapy.
And porn.
And porn. Strong porn influence.
Yeah, this show was born of the union between porn and therapy. Is that right? Anyway, a little housekeeping. We just finished The Bachelor and we put out the finale episode earlier this week. So check that episode out if you missed it. Grant's journey comes to, I would say, a shockingly dramatic conclusion given how the season has been overall. We also put out an episode about Severance Season 2 on Rich Text last week. Another dramatic conclusion.
More blood.
You can find that at claireandemma.substack.com.
Let's get into Temptation Island. I feel like I need to take a shower after watching the entirety of this season. Like when you binge Temptation Island in a few sittings, you just start to feel gross. Like at first it's exhilarating. And then like 3 episodes in, I want to just rip my skin off.
It's just like a little too gross for me. Like, and I remember this from, we covered Temptation Island, like the non-Netflix, the most recent non-Netflix season a couple years ago. If you look way back in the feed. And I remember feeling that way then too. It was just like too gross, like too much of my faith in humanity was being stripped away, too much just like pornified sexuality. Like it just felt wrong. And like we were saying before we sat down, that like it really does kind of give you that like I've just been watching porn feeling, where you're just like, oh, what is happening? Like what did I just consume? Like what's wrong with me?
You're like, at first it felt great, and then it was a little too much.
Now I need to go to confession.
I think for me, it was a lot harder actually to watch it as a binge than to watch it one episode a week, which is how it was airing on USA. That was like bearable. Watching
just all
3 of these
so
episodes,
fast.
exactly, and watching 3 of these episodes in a row, I don't know. My nervous system was in overdrive, but
shambles.
But for anyone who is unfamiliar with Temptation Island, the show originally aired on Fox back in 2001. It was like one of the OG reality shows. It aired for a couple years, ended in 2003. And then in 2018, it was rebooted by the USA Network. And this year, it moved to Netflix. So the production is like a little slicker in the Netflix version. We've got those very on the nose music cues. We've got some like beautiful aerial shots. They're doing like a high-low mix.
Yeah, they're doing a little bit more of like the too hot to handle.
Yes.
Aesthetic.
It's the too hot to handle aesthetic. The concept of the show, this show follows couples as they undergo fidelity testing on a tropical island. I believe that this season, it looks like it was filmed in Hawaii. And the couples are separated by gender for 3 weeks. The women move into a villa full of hot single men, and the men move into a nearby villa full of hot single ladies. The previously coupled individuals get to go on dates and have parties with their tempters. And then every few days, a bonfire is held where the coupled individuals see some footage of what their partners have been up to on the island. And it's dark.
It's dark. And it's more dark, I think, on streaming because there is also not the same level of censorship of explicit content that you kind of have to do to air on a network show. Like we hear a lot of sex noises. We see sex things that I did not need to see.
I was dying over the subtitles. I was like, the closed captions have never gone harder on a show.
Yeah,
Rhythmic wet slapping will be in my brain forever.
yeah, gone harder is certainly one way of describing it. So, yeah, the format of the show has always been kind of like this. And there's like a paradox in what you're supposed to, I think, expect the couples to do going into the show. Like, it seems like sometimes they will say, well, the point of this show is for me to explore and be tempted. And other times they'll say, well, the point of the show is to prove that I won't be tempted. And oh, if I didn't like invite some sort of romantic connection, then I wouldn't really be
In
making
the
the most of this
experience.
experience. At the same time, they often made a lot of promises going into it, which is like, I won't be tempted. I will just be having platonic relationships with the people in the villa. So, and the host, I think, kind of encourages this, like, and they encourage each other in this sort of like, well, the point of the show is you can't grow without opening up to these people, but also like, isn't the point of being here to show that you won't open up to these people? Like, what's the point of the show? What are you all trying to prove?
Nothing, Claire. The point of the show is entertainment. The point of the show is that some of them have to cheat, or else there's literally nothing to watch or talk about.
No, that's absolutely true. There is just this like veneer of therapy that
Yes.
is placed over what
And
they're doing.
I do wonder if that's part of the reason that the men seem to have gotten even more chilling over the years, the few years that I've watched the show. It's like these men are immersed in therapy culture. And so they are so skilled now at knowing how to like spin their actions in the most
Yeah.
flattering growth mindset way possible.
Yeah. It kind of put me off therapy a little bit to watch how
You're like,
quickly these
men
men
shouldn't go to therapy.
how quickly they latch on to concepts that are self-exonerating and then they
Oh, I know.
weaponize them against their female partners.
Yeah, it's wild. It is wild. The vibes between the genders are extremely different, which we will get into. But a constant on all versions of Temptation Island since 2001, which is kind of wild, is the host, Mark L. Wahlberg.
He just lies in wait when Temptation Island isn't filming for a decade or so. He's standing in his closet with his little outfits on and his piercing blue eyes, just waiting.
I like him now that his hair has gone like fully white. It gives him gravitas. But I also just think they couldn't do this show really without him, because so much of the emotional pull of the show hinges on the bonfires and hinges on Mark's ability to either comfort or hold people accountable for their actions who like don't want to do any self-examination. He is not there just to like usher along the process. He's there to be the unlicensed therapist.
Yeah, the unlicensed therapist we all need in our lives. You just need someone to look at you with like piercing light blue eyes and say, all right, now tell me how you really feel. And just break through all of your defenses.
Do you see that your actions maybe aren't matching up to your words? Do you see that?
They usually don't see that.
They don't. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
They do not.
So the couples this season, there are 4 of them, Ashley, 28, and Grant, 28. They've been together for a year and a half. Grant cheated on Ashley about a month into their relationship, and they have had trust issues surrounding his ability to stay faithful to her. It kind of sounded to me, from how they talk about it, like it was not a completely one-off situation. Like maybe that was the only time that he like fully cheated. But it sounded to me like there were ongoing issues.
Yeah. And as we learn later, it seems like he also had an infidelity issue with his ex-wife and mother of his child.
Yes.
So
they've come here to see if Ashley can kind of let this go and trust him moving forward. He's like, I'm going to prove it to you, baby. Like, I can be faithful. Grant is also a single father. This is notable because he's constantly like, of course I'm a good guy. I'm a good dad. which we have to take his word for because I truly haven't seen any evidence of that. And the way that he behaves on this show is not what I would think of as good dad behavior if I
Good
were
dad in
his
the sense
daughter.
that he has hopefully given primary custody to the mother.
Now there's a good dad.
Yeah.
He something about Grant that I think is important to note is that he plays the guitar shirtless. And
Oh, it's very
when he's
unsettling.
feeling sad, especially, he's just going to have to whip out that guitar and
And his
strum it
hair, he's
shirtless.
like so much
He has a
volume.
pompadour.
He
He
has
has
a
a
pompadour
pompadour.
and it doesn't move. It's everything about him is repellent to me. I'm going to be upfront about
Yeah.
this.
There's something about it that's very, very off putting. It seems like he puts an immense amount of time and effort into his looks and image and self presentation. And then you couple that with his absolutely craven, narcissistic, self involved, self pitying behavior.
Yeah, victim
And
mentality.
yeah, you're like, wow, this guy's just pouring a lot back into himself on every level. And
See,
it's just,
I
it's so gross.
personally feel like the results should be better if you're spending that much time.
Honestly, I agree. Then there's Alexa, 28, and Lino, 28. Really? Is everyone 28?
I don't know. This is what it said on Cosmopolitan. I think
So many
I think this might be
28-year-olds.
their current ages.
Yeah. So they've been together 3.5 years. Alexa wants to get engaged. Lino is unsure. Their relationship started at a time when she was getting out of a marriage. She got married quite young and she was dating around. At the start of their relationship, it seems like he believed they were exclusive and maybe she led him to believe they were exclusive, but she was dating someone else. And so he has not gotten over this. He still feels like a second choice. And he's never had a relationship before. She's like his first real relationship. He's never been in love before. And so he's kind of like, how can this be the relationship for the rest of my life? I don't feel secure in it. It's the only one I've ever had. And they came here so he can kind of like, it seems like speed run some exploration
Yeah.
and testing whether this is really the connection that he wants without them like breaking up and him dating around. Shantae is 29 and Brianne is 26. They have been together a year. They met at church, which I think is a really interesting detail given some of the things we learn about Brianne.
I think it is actually very telling that they met at church. Forgiveness is a big theme.
Something tells me Brianne was fishing for a woman at church. And that is why when they tell single women to look for a good guy at church, you got to be careful because
you might end up with a Brianne. And that is terrifying.
So soon after they got together, he dumped her for another woman and then he came crawling back. And part of it seems to be that their big issue since early on is that Shantae is not as sexual as Brianne. She's not like sexually adventurous. He wants to have like lots of threesomes, lots of variety. He describes himself as being sort of polyamorous, and she is definitely not. So she's not sure if she can trust him to like be satisfied with her. And he is also not sure if he can be satisfied with her.
Spoiler alert.
See.
I think he can't, but he will gaslight her into believing that he can.
Taylor is 30 and Tyler is 27. They've been together 2.5 years.
2.5 years or something.
Yeah. They started dating while Tyler was getting out of a marriage about 4 months after he separated from his ex-wife. And it seems like they'd been maybe friends for a little while before that. He has been in back-to-back relationships since he was 18. So he's a serial monogamist, which completely tracks with everything that we learn about Tyler. And in their time together, Taylor has felt frustrated by this like lack of emotional and financial support that she feels from him. He hasn't had a job for almost a year. I think he also cheated on her quite early.
Yes. Oh, also he did cheat. Yes. They said there's been some infidelity, but they don't go into
Yeah.
Yeah, he said I fell into temptation.
He fell
He
into
really,
temptation.
yeah, he grabbed the language of the show from the first 10 minutes of being on
I
it.
mean, forget the show. That's like some Christian shit. That's
Oh,
like,
yes. Also, a
oh,
lot of
I've been led
them.
into temptation by a woman. Oh no. Did that happen to you? I'm so sorry that
Yeah,
happened to
he's a
you.
victim. He's a victim.
And she like weeps like in the first episode and talks about how she thought he was like the one guy who would never do that to her.
She says she's been cheated on by every person she's ever dated.
It's tough out there.
It's awful.
And it seems like Tyler's pursuing like a modeling career and he like really wants her to be so supportive of him following his dreams of modeling. And she is like, I'm 30. I need a partner who is like seriously invested in our partnership and building a life together.
Yeah, it seems like she is bearing more of the financial burden in the relationship, and he's able to like stay afloat because he's getting some modeling jobs, but it doesn't make her feel secure. So that's a tough situation.
Yeah. So they came to the island so Tyler can prove to Taylor that he chooses her and she can trust him. Whenever it arises that like they came to the island for the man to prove that he can be trusted, you
Gonna
know
go sideways.
he's gonna prove that he cannot be trusted.
Yeah.
Ladies, if you're ever wondering if you can trust your man, don't. Like just like
Just
the
leave.
minute that you're
Just leave.
wondering, that's what's become clear to me from this show. I think that once you feel like you can't trust a man, it's probably true
For
that
a
you can't
reason.
and you shouldn't trust him.
Especially if he has like a noted track record. I mean, honestly,
well, yeah, that's the thing. It's not like I don't know if I can trust him because other men have fucked me over. It's like I have specific reason to doubt whether I can trust this man. Okay, done.
I
He's
also
not gonna
do
get
feel
better.
like for some of these women, they almost like came to on Temptation Island so that there could be no gaslighting, so that like the cheating, all the behavior would be taped. Yeah, and then they're like, "Oh, now I can leave because he can't gaslight me. I saw it. We all saw it. No one can question my perception."
Yeah, they came here for. I mean, this is the show equivalent of like those people on TikTok that you can DM and like pay them to try to slide into your boyfriend's DMs so that you can set your mind at ease. Yeah, like you won't have to wonder like, oh, was it my insecurities? Was I too quick
And it's
to
like,
judge?
no, he's a cheating cheater.
Yeah.
I thought so.
So they all come to the island and like share their reasons with Mark for why they're here. And then the singles troop in, like all the male singles and all the women singles in their bikinis and their like tiny short shorts and introduce themselves with like double innuendos and stuff. And then they like each have a bracelet to put on the arm of the coupled person that they find most attractive. Ashley gets like 6 bracelets and I was like, men are so simple
I
because
know.
Ashley is the most like blonde bombshell regulation hottie. She looks like Kate Bosworth. Like it's like, okay, you guys are so boring, but fine.
Men are extremely boring. That's what I've learned from the show.
They're so boring and so simple. And then the girls come out and immediately the men are just like salivating.
Like
and,
minute one, their girlfriends are sitting next to them and they're like, wow, this is going to be hard. I see some good bodies and good teeth and they're so hot. It like immediate. They're like, they've 1 second before said like, I will never be tempted. I know what I have.
Yeah, I know what I have. I'm going to prove it to you, baby. Don't give up on me.
One singular hot woman walks in front of their eyes and they're like, ooh.
At one point, one of the temptresses describes Grant as being like easily distracted by a shiny object. And I'm like, wow, even in this group, he stands out as being so like you like snap your fingers and jingle your keys next to him. And he's like, what girlfriend? I don't have a girlfriend.
Grant has absolutely zero object permanence. He's
and
like,
one thing that really makes me crazy about Grant, just to dive right into that, is that he is obviously the world's shittiest boyfriend. I'm sure he loves his daughter, but I also think it would be very hard to be the daughter of someone who treats women that way.
Imagine being the daughter of someone who treats women this way and it's on national television.
I think that's really messed up. I think it's not a good way to model the treatment of women for your daughter. But he thinks that Ashley might not be mother material for his daughter. Why? Because Ashley, who he's been dating for, it sounds like a very unstable year and a half, like plagued by his indiscretions and wandering eye. Ashley is not in a rush to get involved in his daughter's life.
She's being responsible.
What? She is the only person in this scenario being responsible, Grant. You should not be introducing her to your daughter when you are one hot woman away from being like, I don't know if we're meant to be anymore. Which is what he is.
Which is what happens. I mean,
he's one hot woman away from.
And the more that Ashley talks about Grant and their relationship, and also his prior relationship, like his relationship with the mother of his daughter, it's clear that she sees that. Like, she sees him clearly. She sees his patterns clearly. And she's thinking, I don't need to disrupt this child's life unnecessarily.
Right. He's like, she's clearly not nurturing because she doesn't want to get in there and babysit my child. Like, this is such a classic single dad parent. Like, not that I'm saying that he is solo parenting his child. For all we know, he is with his child every day or once a month. We don't actually know what their arrangement is, but it is such a common pattern for divorced or single or solo parents who are dads to seek out female partners who will do the childcare for them when they have time with their children. And like, the fact that it's been a year of an unstable relationship and Ashley isn't volunteering to do that childcare for him, he can't handle that. He thinks that shows she's a bad mom. I'm like, Grant, what about you do the childcare for your child until you are sure Ashley is the one?
Father. That's your child.
Yeah. What about you guys get involved? What about you get your daughter involved with her when you are sure? And in the meantime, you take care of being a parent to your child. I'm going to spend half of this episode ranting about Grant and the other half ranting about Brianne, and then we're going to run out of time to even talk about Tyler.
Right, who also is repellent, but is less of, I mean, there is something, Tyler's behavior is run-of-the-mill dick. Brianne and Grant, the more you watch them, you're like, there is something very off and very scary about the way that these two people operate.
Extremely scary. Scary people.
Should we talk a little bit about the contrast in like the vibes between the women's villa and the men's villa? Because it is insane.
It's insane. Like, it's so immediately obvious, and the gender stereotypes that they fall into are so obvious. It's like, really, the tempters and the temptresses are so overt about offering what they think women versus men need. And it's just so obvious to me that what the women are looking for is so much healthier than what the men are looking for.
Yeah.
And so the men are always just volunteering to like just sit and like, oh, you had a tough time at the bonfire. Do you want to sit and talk about it? Like, how did that make you feel? You really deserve someone who would put the toilet seat down. Those little things matter. Like, your feelings matter. Like, they're not making uninvited physical moves.
They're like, we can spend time together. There's no pressure to get physical. This is on your timeline. I'm here for you as a friend or more, whatever you decide.
Yeah. We're having a dance party. I can tell that she doesn't really want to get too physically close, so we'll just stand 2 feet apart dancing. That's fine. I'm not here to make her uncomfortable. Meanwhile, the women immediately in the men's villa welcome the guys with a lingerie party, body shots, and like chocolate syrup to lick off of them, like sexy games. Like, one of the first things we see them do together is play a game where they get paint on their body parts so they can like rub the paint off on
just
the
like
men.
Breasts rubbing all over men's chests.
Yeah.
And the men are like, yeah, like literally grabbing the women's asses and like riding them on their dicks. It's really wild.
Again, porny. Like, this is one of the porniest shows I've ever seen. And they're affirming the men like, you deserve more sex, like you deserve to
You
explore. Of
deserve
course you can.
threesome.
You
Of
deserve
course.
threesomes. Your partner
You
doesn't
deserve
want threesomes. Oh,
you
that's so
deserve
harsh for
unlimited
you.
threesomes. You deserve threesomes on offer, like a threesome machine.
Yeah.
That's what you deserve. It's funny because as time goes on, we do start to see some of the temptresses get fucking annoyed with like the dirtbag behavior of the men, but it takes a little while.
Yeah. Well, and I think they know the brief coming in, right? They're cast to be the
Right. They haven't.
temptresses. The
Yes.
men are gonna want to like dance up on them and lick chocolate syrup off of them. And they're like, that's my
That's my
job
job.
here. But over time, they kind of some of them start to feel like,
This
is
is
is this the kind of guy that I would want to be in a
also like,
relationship
or
with?
not even do I want to be in a relationship with this guy? Some of them start to be like, do I even want to spend several hours alone with this guy? Not
Do I
really.
feel safe with this
Yeah.
guy? Not really. Yeah, and the vibes do start to shift. Like it's almost like for the men, they kick it off with like a lot of towing the line
Yeah.
sexuality with these temptresses, and then that like leads into like almost the stereotype of the like paying a sex worker to listen to you cry. Like eventually they lead into the stuff where they're like confiding about how much it hurts their feelings that their girlfriend doesn't just like never criticize their cheating ass, and like sometimes she has expectations from them. They
But
lead into those
I'm a
emotional
good
things down the
guy. I don't
line.
think I'm a bad guy. She's so belittling. She criticized me one time.
It's just such a gender stereotype that I think was played into with the casting and probably also with the production and what was set up in the two houses. But the fact that the women lead into whatever romantic and sexual contact there is in their villa, which is very minimal, with emotional connection, and the men lead into emotional connection, which is very minimal, such as
With
it does occur
sexual.
with sexual connection.
It is telling.
Yes, and that I also felt like there were some uh, weird racial dynamics up front, which like wasn't, to me at least watching this as a white woman, like it didn't take up a lot of my attention watching it, and I don't know how pervasive it was, but there's a really weird scene during the selection of the first dates that struck me. Did you see this
Yeah.
part where they all eight of them, the people from the couples, are together as they pick their first date so that people can see who their partner's first selection is. And Taylor really expects Tyler to pick like an Aryan blonde hottie. Like this, there's a girl, Kay, who they saw wearing like a gingham bikini on the beach when they first saw the tempters and temptresses. And she's like, that's your type.
And it is.
And it is. But he's like, she's going to be so surprised. She doesn't know me as well as she thinks. Like, she's going to be so surprised by who I pick. And he picks a black woman, Courtney, I think, almost seemingly to be trying to prove a point to her.
It's odd.
And then she says she's proud of him, which again to me was like, do they think of it as sort of admirable and progressive for him to just deign to go on a date with a black woman?
I read it as, I mean, that is the dynamic that ends up being set up. I read that comment as more like, oh, you're resisting your type. You're like going to spend time with a woman that maybe you'll have a platonic connection with, right? Because that was like the goal for a lot of these men. Like, can you just like be friends with the woman?
You think that Taylor was reading that as he's taking out a black woman, so it's obviously not going to be romantic, and I'm proud of him.
Yes.
God, I don't know which is worse. Yikes.
They're both bad.
Both really bad. Like, I was really thrown off by that whole interaction. And then, of course, he later that night completely shifts his attention to the blonde milkmaid, Kay.
And then they're basically in a relationship for the rest of the show.
And then, what do you know? His current girlfriend, who is neither Taylor nor Kay, also looks exactly like this.
So, to be fair, Taylor did know Tyler.
She knew him really well, and he was using one of the women
Courtney as like a
yes.
prop to prove something.
Yeah, like using a Black woman as a prop to prove that
It's
he's
gross.
actually, much more interesting and evolved. He's not predictable. He could date anyone. He
He is
doesn't have to
predictable, and
date a
he will
blonde.
only date a lily-skinned blonde.
Yeah, that really threw me off. And I had some like weird vibes at points when Taylor was later pursuing her connection with Yemen and was always just like, "You're so wise, Yemen," and he'd be like, "Am I wise?" And she's like, "Yes, you're wise." But that's who she ends up kind of having the deepest connection with in the villa. So those are kind of like my broad takeaways about the weird dynamics between the men and the women, and then some of the other undercurrents. But before we get into kind of the meat of the season, like the major events, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back to talk about the first bonfire and the fallout from the first bonfire.
Can you keep up? I love it.
And we are back, and it's time to get into the meat of this season. And there is just so much to
so
say.
Much meat.
There's so much
man
meat to tear apart
and
you know.
yams. I would say meat and yams of this season.
You gotta love those yams.
Love them. So the dynamic that we kind of see early on is really cemented at this first bonfire. The men are quicker to stray, but they think they're the victims because the women in their villa are not always talking them up. Like they're like, I'm out here licking women and nuzzling them and having like just like dancing up on their asses. Why is my girlfriend back there not flattering me to these men? How dare she?
The way that these men act as if they have been mortally wounded to the point of no return because their girlfriends like criticize them in, I'm going to say, not even that intense a way. I was like, there is so much worse I could say about these guys having watched them for about an hour.
Right. Like the first bonfire shows the women clearly processing, mostly to each other.
Yeah.
Processing why they came here, like why they have lost trust in their relationships, why they're questioning whether they're going to move forward with them. Things that these men, I think, already should know if they're paying attention to their partners, because it's the whole reason they're here.
Right. And
like,
claim
Grant
to know.
Yeah. And Ashley, for example, is venting to Alexa about how he has cheated on her and saying like it's embarrassing for her. She feels like she'll maybe never trust him. Yeah, that's why you're here.
And Grant is like, well, guess our relationship's over, that fucking bitch.
She disrespected
Time for me to go cheat.
That's the thing. He doesn't view it as disrespect to cheat on her. What's disrespect is her describing him cheating on her and how that makes her feel.
That's very disrespectful.
Keep it to yourself, Ashley.
She should keep that to herself, her hurt feelings. Lino really, and he is the least offensive overall, but he really pissed me off during this first bonfire because the clip that is played for him is Alexa saying to Ashley, essentially, she says, I don't need Lino. I have all of these things that are just mine. I have my career aspirations. She's crying while she says this. Clearly, the implication is, I don't need him, but I want him and I choose to have him. And Lino is like, oh, she doesn't need me? I guess our relationship is like not what I thought.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess she doesn't really want to choose me because she doesn't need me.
And then he goes on a rant about how he's made her such an eligible bachelorette. He's basically created her. And she should be so much more grateful. And she should need him. I'm like, no, Lino, in an adult relationship, you don't need another person. You want and choose them, and both people are making an active choice. That is
Like
actually a good
yeah.
thing.
This is like the best guy in the bunch.
Right.
And
By
he
far.
has such a rudimentary understanding of what a healthy relationship entails that he doesn't understand the distinction between a partner needing you, we call that codependence, and a partner wanting you and choosing you, which we call
Healthy.
good, loving, healthy. Like he doesn't understand the difference. He's like,
No.
oh, she doesn't need me. Like I made her who she is and she's given me nothing. Like I'm leaving this relationship just the same eligible bachelor I've always been, and I've made her an eligible bachelorette.
This made me crazy.
But I will say this for Lino. I do see by the next bonfire that he has processed this and come to understand that it is okay for her to choose him rather than need him.
Yes.
But
yes.
he doesn't get there right away.
No, he has some growth. Again, this is probably like the most he pisses me off the whole season, and all the other men get much worse. So
They get worse over
I guess he gets a gold star is what I'm saying.
Tyler is pissed because he sees Taylor talking to one of the singles and basically being like, it's frustrating. He hasn't had a job for almost a year. I keep asking him to put the toilet seat down and he won't do it. And then she
Tyler's
hugs
like,
the guy.
I do one thing. I can do 99 things right. I do one thing wrong, and I'm a bad guy. The toilet seat.
I don't know, Tyler.
Seat.
I heard more than one thing just in that brief clip that you're doing wrong.
But also, this is like the most tepid criticism. Like, and he, first of all, they literally said in their intro package, like, she is insecure. She does not feel very financially safe in the relationship because he doesn't have a consistent job. And he said
there's
yes.
a lot of pressure on her.
Yeah.
And he feels entitled to that. He feels entitled to put that burden on her, and she should never ask for more from him.
She also should never have a feeling about it.
For her.
She should never process it. She should never talk about it. And like the toilet, nothing pisses him off more than the toilet seat comment. Like, how dare you? How dare you?
Like, she is just describing how she is trying to work through the fact that she feels like he doesn't care that much about looking after her. And that's what we mostly see in the first bonfire is these women, I think in pretty understandable and measured terms, processing with these men just like they would with a friend or with each other, like, can this relationship give me what I need? Here are the issues I have with this relationship. And they feel so aggrieved by this. Meanwhile, what do they think their girlfriends are seeing? Because they're seeing men acting like they don't have girlfriends anymore.
No, but
they're seeing men talking about how they think maybe they're not meant to be with their girlfriends anymore so that they can impress a hot chick.
No, but
that's
Claire,
what their girlfriends are seeing.
Claire,
and they think they're the victims
because they're the victims. Okay, it's really hard. It's really hard for Tyler when sometimes his girlfriend says, like, could you please put the toilet seat down? I've asked you before. And he's like, what the fuck, Taylor?
Yeah, you make me feel like such a bad guy.
I'm not a bad guy. I'm an amazing guy.
Brienne just sees Shantae dancing kind of chastely with a guy. So he's happy because she's, quote, developing a personality of her own. And I was like, wow.
If my partner described me in that way, I would never recover.
Like, he thinks that he is being, like, so kind and generous and evolved. And he's like, finally, she's got a personality. Okay.
These men all seem to believe that they are essentially solely responsible for all of the joy, all of the, like, energy, all of the accomplishment in their female partners' lives.
Yeah.
But they owe them nothing more because they've already provided so much.
They've provided their magical
And then
dicks.
the minute
and the fun and excitement, of always wondering if your partner might be cheating on you, which keeps the magic alive,
And they're like, you know what? Now that these bitches have said one mean thing about us, it's time to cheat. I think our relationship's done. Like,
they were like on the like, if they had seen their women doing with the men in the house what they were already doing with the women back at their villa, they would have been furious.
Oh, well, they all think that they're entitled to it.
Yeah. And yet they take from these women basically just like having mini therapy sessions about how they want to make their relationships work, but they don't know how. They're like, well, time to cheat. Like, I owe her nothing. Like, she should have been doing my PR over there. That's what her job is while I'm here. She should be building me up to these men while I cheat
That's
on
the job
her.
of a woman. And they're like, look, I have a bunch of women here who have been literally hired to do that job.
Ugh, it's going to be a hard come down for these men when they get out into the real world again. So what do the women see? Ashley sees Grant telling a woman he's basically ready to walk away from her. He doesn't really think they're meant to be anymore. Alexa sees Lino talking about how it seems like, essentially kind of cheated on him at the beginning of the relationship, and how that's affected him. And
so, okay, that one is the fair.
And you know
fair
what?
conversation.
And you know what Alexa's response is? Yeah, I feel guilty about that. I feel also guilty about my divorce. I bring a lot of guilt into this relationship. Like, the women are much quicker to self-reflect. If they ever see the men assessing their faults, they are much quicker to
they'll be like, you know what?
self-reflect.
I did do that and I shouldn't have. You know what? This is something I've been working on and I need to know if we can move past it. Like,
yeah.
Unlike Grant, who is constantly going on and on and on and about all the like deeply held resentment that Ashley has about things he did like 2 days ago.
I can't with him. Like, there's no hope for him. Like,
there's none.
I like,
truly,
nothing can
at the end, I was like, nothing can save him. Nothing can fix him. Therapy only makes him more dangerous. He needs to be cast out of society.
He should never be allowed to learn therapeutic jargon. It's not safe. Shantae sees Brian getting licked, doing body shots, and telling the women he loves threesomes and wishes she were more sexual. So she's not super impressed, but that's kind of Shantae's vibe throughout every bonfire to come, regardless of how bad things get. She's just kind of like, I didn't love that. Not what I was hoping for. Taylor sees Tyler dancing with Kay and saying, "You're trouble," like basically like grinding on her and showing her into his room. And she's like, "Wow, that's what he said to me when we first kissed. He said, 'You're trouble.'" Like he is like a copy paste dater. He dates the women. They look the same. He says the same shit to them. The relationship has the same trajectory. And then he finds a new carbon copy that he can have the same relationship with and never examine himself at all. However, I will say that Taylor is the one who goes the hardest with her responses to these, and I too would have been very hurt by the things that she says about Tyler. And after this, she tells one of the men in the house that Tyler has bitch tendencies. And I would also find that very hard to get past.
I would also find it offensive. I think the misandrist tendencies that I have make my empathy for Tyler quite limited, but I see your point and I don't disagree.
I think that like we see in the show that is clearly a reaction to like processing what she sees from him.
Yeah.
Or that's how it seems to us. And it doesn't seem that way to Tyler. He's like, she just like hates me. She's talking shit about me.
That's the thing, is that they show the clips in isolation, obviously, without context. Like it's not clear what she's responding to.
Right. So eventually he's going to see that clip. And for us, it's like she's responding to what she saw.
And to her credit, she has since the show been like, I should not have said that. That was below the belt.
I relate to Taylor in certain ways because I too like to think of myself as a really good partner. And I also have that tendency to be like, well, if he keeps like not doing the thing, if he keeps dropping the ball, then like
gloves are off.
I get to drop the hammer. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's not a good, it doesn't feel a good dynamic in the relationship.
I just think she really needed to be out of the relationship.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing, actually.
So after this, the men all basically immediately cheat on their girlfriends.
Correct.
Like, except for Lino.
It is truly
who tries.
Incredible stuff.
Grant is the quickest. Like after the first
Oh,
bonfire, he
Grant is
comes
just
back and
dying.
he's
Grant
like,
is dying to cheat.
and all he needs to hear is that Ashley has said to another human person that she has been embarrassed by his behavior and she's not sure if she can ever trust him. And he's like, okay,
Well,
then
I've
I
heard
get to
what
do
I
whatever.
need. I've heard all I need. I think we can all agree.
He kisses Natalie on the like second date that they get after this bonfire. And then he says to the camera that kissing Natalie would cross his boundaries with Ashley, but he doesn't want it to feel like cheating. Okay,
he
well,
just
you
doesn't
can.
want it to. Claire, it's not what he wants. He doesn't want it to. And, things could still work with Ashley. He loves to do this. He'll go and cheat, and then he'll get in a confessional and be like, I just, I might be able to forgive Ashley.
I might be able to work things out with Ashley if she really changes everything
Yeah.
about herself. He is also not the only one. I would say Grant, Tyler, and Brian all do this to some extent where they're just like, I don't want it to feel like I'm cheating, so I simply won't feel like it's cheating.
Yeah.
I will decide that
what?
it's something else.
I actually needed to do this, and
therefore it's not cheating.
I feel great about it. And they should too.
I'm like, sorry, dude, it is cheating. Like you did specifically, actually the only couple that didn't set boundaries coming into this specific experience are Lino and Alexa.
And they are the only ones who make it through.
Right.
Well, I mean, make it through relatively unscathed.
Relatively, yeah. I mean, the fact that they were all explicitly given these boundaries and then they get over to the other villa and they're like, well, I don't want it to feel like I'm breaking the boundaries, so I will simply come up with some tortured rationalization for why I'm not breaking the boundary. For example, if I don't feel like I'm breaking the boundary, then I'm not.
Or like if I was hurt because I expect my girlfriend to talk me up all the time, then I'm allowed because she did it. It's her fault. She ended it. She criticized me one time.
Yeah.
I'm allowed now.
The way things evolve with Natalie are fascinating too. She's like his second connection in the house, but they kind of zero in on each other quickly. She looks kind of exactly like a statuesque Leah Michelle.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Really,
You're very good.
Like,
You're
why
good at
is
the
he making out
doppelganger.
with Rachel Berry?
But tall and 22.
Yeah, exactly. And she's very attention grabbing. Like he's really drawn to her. And then two new girls join the house. And he's like, I'm going to test Natalie to see if she has a sassy side. I'm going to do a body shot off of one of these new girls. And she's like sitting there right in front of them looking disgusted. And then he asks Natalie to go next. And she's like, no. And then later she tells him, like, I'm not going to play those games with you, basically. Like, that's not respectful. And he's like, wow, that's so mature. Ashley loved it when I made her jealous with other girls.
Did she?
Did she?
Did she,
Did
Grant?
she,
Because
Grant?
she's actually just been talking about how she doesn't trust you. And it's been really hard for her. And she doesn't want to live a life full of anxiety and resentment.
I think this is one of the things that comes out in Grant is that it's clear that he doesn't respect Ashley because she took him back. Like,
yeah,
he got away with it. And so he doesn't think that she
that's super
is mature. He doesn't think that she is
yeah, there's
strong.
no way for her to win.
Right. He doesn't feel bad about what he did. He feels disgusted with her for taking him back. And with Natalie, he's like, oh, she's so strong. She's so mature. And he like zeroes in on her after that. He really focuses on her from what we see.
They basically like enter into a relationship.
He's like, time to really pursue Natalie now that she's shown me that she doesn't want me to make her jealous with other girls in the house. So he fucks her in the shower.
Yes, he does fuck her in the shower.
He
and once
fucks
he
her in the
breaks,
shower.
all the other men except Lino, who honestly tries to cheat and like just doesn't get very far.
Yeah. I don't think he was trying that hard, but
he wasn't
also
trying that hard, and also no one was trying that hard to get him, so it just like works out.
Yeah. So, but to stick with Grant for a second.
Sorry. I just mean they all fold like a deck of cards right after Grant.
Yeah, he's like really aggressive with it though. It's like they've barely started. It's been like a few days. And
No,
he
it's
is
literally
like
like
in the
48,
shower
48 hours.
on camera. I know it's longer than it looks because of the editing, so maybe it's been like 5 or 6 days, but like there are cameras pointed at the shower. He knows it. He turns off the lights, and Natalie is like, you know that they have like night vision. And then he just goes into the shower and has sex with her
Fully
in the
naked.
shower.
Like we see him stripping down. Full
And
ass.
you can hear it. So like the next morning, he finally seems to kind of clock in and be like, oh, I did exactly the thing that I told Ashley I wouldn't do, and I betrayed her. Darn. And he gets very sad boy. He's like singing ballads
Natalie.
shirtless with his guitar. He's like, Natalie, I'm still thinking about Ashley. I think I need to practice being alone. And Natalie's like, yeah, this is like the most obvious thing that could possibly happen. So, okay.
It is, I don't know, seems really hellish to be one of the temptresses.
Yeah.
Like these are like the lowest quality men you could imagine. And it's like,
Lowest.
go aggressively hit on them and then like comfort them.
It's not an enviable task. The men treat them like commodities. And the prize is, yeah, to get to be with a proven serial cheater. So I don't envy them. And I think they're in that exact uncomfortable position more so than the men in the women's villa because they're given a palatable task in the end. The women are in this position that no one sympathizes with. Like they're the Jezebels, they're the other women. It's like, oh, you're such a girl's girl. Like you deserve a relationship. Why are you here trying to like fuck some other woman's man? It's very shitty.
It's bad.
So Tyler does decide to push things further with Kay after seeing what Taylor said about him, which is like he leaves the toilet seat up. And he starts kind of like exploring more with her. He invites her over for a sleepover along with a bowl of cereal that is on the mattress next to them. He just seems kind of gross. He's a little...
He definitely gives me the ick.
And he says at one point during this, while he's deciding to kind of take things further with Kay, he's like, I used to think temptation had a negative connotation, but now I see it can be really good and really fun.
Yeah, I think it is fun for you. That's kind of the whole thing about why would it be tempting?
Dumbest man in America. I'm like, do you know what temptation is? Like, the point is that it's fun and it feels good. And that's why you do it, even though it's not something you should do. Lino is trying to get Alex to kiss him, and she blows him off. Not through lack of effort on his part, but again, he's not really pushing it, but he's trying it.
He puts it out there and no one bites immediately, and then he's like, well, I guess, okay. I guess I explored.
Really seems zeroed in on Alex, and I wonder if she's his type. Like, she does look a lot.
She does
like
kind
Alexa.
of look like Alexa.
He says she's mysterious at one point, and I was like, oh, okay. Interesting thing to say about one of the only part Asian women in the house, but okay. But I do think that might be his type. So he's like, she's the only one I'm really interested in, and she is so obviously not interested in him.
She's zero, like talking to a wall. She's trying to be nice to him, but her body language is completely closed off.
You will hear this described as them flirting, but it is just him flirting.
It's one-sided flirting.
And she's going like, okay. Uh-huh. And then at one point she actually is like, I'm more into Breon, and he's like, okay, we're really attracted to each other.
Lino, also not going to win any points for intelligence.
Yeah, he's not picking it up. Breon's goal at this point seems to be to get close to breaking the rules without actually breaking them. And it's interesting because, again, this disconnect that we see, Shantae thinks that they came, and this is what he told her, for him to prove that he can be platonic friends with women. And he thinks that they came so that he could show that he could push the limits of non-platonic sexual and romantic interaction without technically breaking a rule. And I'm like, is that what you're here for,
Yeah,
Breon?
I'm sure that's what she's dying to see you do.
Yeah, no, I think that it's clear that you're quite capable of pushing those boundaries. I think she's more interested to see you being platonic friends with women. He like
But
takes
he's
Alex
not
into the
interested in being
bathroom.
platonic friends with women.
You know what's interesting is that Brion's bathroom we never see inside, but Grant's we do. It takes me a solid 5 to 6 episodes to keep the white men straight on this
That's
season,
fair.
especially Tyler and Grant and who they're dating. It's very hard for me. But Brion takes Alex into the bathroom and you like can't see what he's doing, but presumably something a little bit sketchy, like grabbing her
not
butt or
like
something. Nothing
nothing
where
intense.
nothing where the closed caption rhythmic wet slapping
No.
could be used, thankfully. Meanwhile, of course, Shantae is reading her Bible. So that's kind of the vibe between the two houses.
That is literally the dynamic of their relationship.
Yeah. And also, like, the women in general are always, like, journaling and being like, I believe in him. And then, meanwhile, their man is over in the other
It's
villa, like
slapping
licking
asses
someone.
and like
So by the third, like, day, it's obviously longer, but the day they show us in the show, Tyler and Grant are both like, our relationships are over. We've decided. And Tyler says, I'm okay with it in some ways. I don't think I fully processed it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not surprised because like 2 days ago, you were telling Taylor to believe in you, not to give up on you. And you were going to prove it to her and you were going to be together. And you haven't broken up.
but you saw one hot woman and you saw her criticize you one time and you're like, it's done.
And you're like, wow,
you know what? I have to accept it.
I can't believe I haven't fully processed this breakup yet, but I'm sure I'll get there soon. And then he tells Kay that delayed gratification is the best skill you can have. These men would all
I
fail
hate
the
this.
marshmallow test.
I hate this man.
Like, they don't understand what delayed gratification is.
He's like, delayed gratification. I waited 2 days. That was very
Yeah.
delayed.
It was delayed. The minute that I left my girlfriend's presence and saw this other blonde, I wanted to have sex with her.
And I
Several
waited.
days have passed and I haven't yet had sex with her.
Exactly.
And that's
fair is fair.
It's like that episode of Sex and the City where Samantha tries out edging with like the like yoga guy who never has sex, and then she's finally like, I can't do this.
Yes.
Second bonfire, we get check-ins for both sides about what their partners have been up to. All of the women except Alexa see their men seeming to cross some physical boundary. Ashley sees Grant with Natalie in the shower. And so they're all like, especially Ashley, are like rocked. And Alexa even sees Lino saying that he's made her an eligible bachelorette and she's added nothing to his life. So that's like emotionally quite devastating.
No, yeah, they are not. None of them are okay.
Like, I think it's worth noting that when the men say something emotionally devastating, that is not treated as a big deal.
No.
When the women say something emotionally devastating, the men lose their shit. And it's treated as justification for a lot of bad behavior. But when the men say something devastating about the women, it's like, well, he didn't stick his dick in someone. So isn't that
Thank
the man
God
that you love and he loves you? And all he did was say something horrible about you. Ashley, though, is kind of like, okay, so
I'm single.
I'm single. Like, thank God I know for sure now I saw it on camera.
Well, that's what's
now.
so interesting about watching Ashley is like the amount of relief that she expresses
Mm-hmm.
because she's clearly been made to feel crazy for the entirety of their relationship.
Well, and you can see it playing out the way that he sidesteps or ignores his own bad
Culpability
behavior
and everything.
Yeah, and puts a lot of blame on her.
Oh, yeah.
And clearly she is able to take that on board. We see her later in the season accepting that she hasn't always spoken kindly about him and that that's not the right way to treat your partner. Like, he is very good at redirecting the questioning back to
No,
what she
by
has
the
done
end,
wrong.
he's like, I've done so much growth and I finally realize I can forgive you.
Okay, we're going to talk about that like 15 times over the course of this because it is so
I can't. I
enraging.
keep thinking about it. It's so
Makes my eye twitch.
So during this bonfire, the men, on the other hand, see zero physical boundaries crossed, and mostly just the women kind of frustratedly processing what they saw at the first bonfire. So this is when Tyler sees Taylor say that he has bitch tendencies.
Yeah.
And he's
And-
like, furious.
To be clear, like that is a really shitty thing to say. It seems to us like he has already closed the door in this relationship and he's just still processing
Well, he's
it.
looking
So like
he's looking for an out. That's the thing with half of these guys is they already had said, I'm basically done with this relationship. My relationship's over.
yeah.
And then they're like, oh, great. She said something else mean about me. Like, I'm off the hook fully now.
Yeah. They're so
I
weak.
hate them. I hate them.
Ashley, we see Grant sees Ashley saying that she felt like the universe wouldn't send her a piece of shit man because she was in such a good headspace when she met him, and so she's kept giving him chances. I actually thought that this was clearly her being like, I didn't think the universe would send me a piece of shit man. That's why I'm still with him. And he reads that as her saying, he is a piece of shit man. Which
and
is
you
like,
know what? He is.
He is. So maybe there's a little bit of just a little bit of guilt in there, a little bit of self-knowledge that's slipping out. He's like, I can't believe someone noticed what a piece of shit man I am. But from my reading of that conversation, she was sort of lightheartedly talking about why she has remained optimistic about a relationship that has had a lot of struggles. And he's like, wow, once again, I'm heartbroken by seeing how she talks about me, the horrible things she says, the lack of respect. He's obsessed with her respecting him. And I'm like, Grant, I have a crazy idea for you. Have you ever tried doing things that are worthy of respect? Have you ever tried treating her respectfully? Never.
Claire, that's not his job.
That's his like the modern man lashing out at women, being like, respect me, respect me, respect me, while they're acting like a giant, selfish, destructive toddler. Like, you have done nothing to deserve her respect.
No, literally not one singular thing as far as I've seen with Grant. Not one.
And you can say, well, then she shouldn't be with him, and I agree. But, like, he doesn't get, in my opinion, to be aggrieved that she doesn't respect him if he doesn't treat her with respect and if he doesn't behave in ways that command respect.
He's not just, like, inherently deserving of respect within the context of a relationship. Like, once you've proven that you're not worthy of respect.
You lose respect for people who behave in selfish, childish, unkind ways. Yeah, that's just how it works.
Sorry.
Shantae is saying in her clip that no one judges Brianne's promiscuous urges, but it's not for her. She wants more emotional support from him. Again, like, just the most, and Brianne gets to watch these clips and be like,
wow, she's
she's a wonderful woman, and I'm gonna keep working. I'm doing such a great job working on this for her.
She's such a good woman, and that's why I know that she'll forgive me if I cheat.
We'll get to that. And Alexa in her clip is saying, like, if Lino can't let me dating multiple guys 3 years ago go, then I can't keep choosing him. It's too hard.
And Lino handles this well.
I mean, like, he, again, like, just like Brianne, will never see anything that's like a betrayal from Alexa, really. And he seems to have also taken on board that what she said last week was basically fine. He's like, I understand now that she doesn't need to need me. She can still choose me. And I am the source of my insecurity. She has never really done anything to make me so insecure. I just don't think very highly of myself. And that's why I'm so afraid of not being needed. And Mark is there to guide him. Mark is always here asking the tough questions.
He tries. You can see Mark getting more and more frustrated with some of these guys as the season goes on. Or he's like,
yeah.
It sounds like you're talking a lot about her. Have you thought about yourself?
Have you ever considered, like, examining your own behavior?
And they're like, no, needs? I haven't, Mark. And I don't intend to.
Grant and Tyler, sent me into space after the second bonfire. Grant is so wounded that Ashley doesn't see what a good man he is. He's not a piece of shit. He knows his intentions and his heart, and he's a good man. I'm like, Grant, you have already cheated on her. That's what she's seeing right now. Is you cheating on her on camera.
He's a good man, though. He knows it. He knows he's good. His intentions are good, and he is good, if you think about it. And in a way, can he forgive Ashley? I'm just going to keep saying it.
My favorite is the moment when he says to the other guys, and they're all bros, that's how this goes. They're all bros. He says to the other guys, like, I think that I could forgive Ashley and work on things with her. And you can see them being sort of like,
For
okay, well, like,
what?
is she
Is she
is she gonna forgive you? Like, if she can forgive you and take you back, she's like a better woman than any of us. And that's his friends who are like basically on his side. They're still sort of like, what do you mean? They're like, wait a second, what are you forgiving her for? Like,
no one knows. No one knows except Grant in his
and then
mind.
he goes back to the house and tells Natalie he finally has to forgive himself and give himself grace and stop
that is what he
worrying
took
about
away.
Ashley.
That's what he took away, is that he has to be easier on himself.
He's like, I have to stop worrying about Ashley. I spent several hours feeling guilty about cheating on my girlfriend on camera, and that was frankly too much. I shouldn't have to go through that. I don't deserve the pain of thinking about the consequences of my own selfish actions.
This is his new line throughout the rest of the show. Is he's like, I've just never thought about my own feelings. I've only thought about Ashley's. He's like rewriting history. He's like, that's what was wrong in our relationship. I thought too much about Ashley's feelings.
I'm like, if he was thinking about Ashley's feelings, then that paints an even more disturbing picture where he keeps doing this stuff because he enjoys the pain it inflicts on her. Because it is certainly not stopping him from doing the things that are hurtful to her.
So insane.
He then tells us that hooking up with Natalie is something he deserves.
Wow.
And he's not worried what Ashley's thinking anymore. And I'm like, good. She's not your girlfriend. She's not thinking about you. She's done. You're a piece of shit. Like, you're a piece of shit.
Piece of shit.
And the way that he is latched onto terms he's hearing applied to basically the other men, or like in other places in the society where you hear this kind of therapy speak, forgive myself, give myself grace, like, put my own feelings first. I can't love someone if I don't love myself. The way that he's like latching onto these things to avoid sitting with the consequences of his behavior is chilling.
It's chilling. It's terrifying.
These people can't learn. And by these people, I don't mean men. I just mean people like Grant, who seems like a particularly
Grant can't.
obnoxious
I
person.
truly, like, I've never had less faith in a human being.
Yeah.
Than I have in Grant, to be perfectly honest.
Tyler is also really hurt. And again, it's a little bit more understandable to me that he's hurt because her words were really harsh. But he doesn't seem aware at all that Taylor is seeing really hurtful things from him and that is like fueling her comments, in fact.
No.
Like, you will sometimes see the women being like, oh, he's going to see what I said or what I did, and that's going to be how
hard.
he sees me. The only person we really see that from the men is Brian after he has a threesome.
He's
I'm like, yeah.
Oh, I guess that's probably the clip they're going to show.
Yeah, I think they might show her that. So Grant and Tyler now feel justified to like throw themselves into full-on island relationships.
And they do, without
they do.
an ounce of guilt.
And they're facilitated in this by this temptation haven that each villa gets, which is basically like a big tent from like Dick's Sporting Goods.
It's a cheating tent.
It's a big cheating tent from Dick's Sporting Goods. There are no cameras inside, which doesn't really make it any different from like Brianne's bathroom, for example. Like, you can
they're still mic'd. They're still mic'd. They get real into the sound effects.
Actually, the main difference is that it's not a haven so much as it's a way to psychologically terrorize your partner in the other villa, because it sets off a red light
and everyone
siren.
else's partners.
And everyone else's. And so obviously Grant and Tyler both use it the first night. Brianne,
so then the women are like,
night,
fuck this. We just have to like go in there.
Oh, but that's later. That's not even
later.
That night. The first night they don't go in there.
No, it's not the first night. But,
two men use it. Shantae is like sobbing in her bed in the middle of the night.
Oh my God, this is awful.
Wondering if Brianne is cheating on her.
And everyone's like, no, it's probably Grant or Tyler.
It's probably Grant or Tyler. And it's true that Brianne did not go into the haven, presumably because it wasn't available all night for his sexual infidelity plans. Instead, he has a threesome in his bathroom.
He likes shower sex and he likes threesomes.
Yeah. And I heard way too much of this. I need therapy. I need them to pay for my therapy. I'm not okay. I should never have heard that.
Rhythmic wet slapping, or is it wet rhythmic slapping?
It's rhythmic wet slapping. I don't want to tell
Yeah.
you like how that seared itself into my
I can
brain.
see it. I can see it. And it's like there's moaning and there's the
There's
slapping.
There's moaning and there's slapping. It's really upsetting. And the way that this is cut back to Shantae sobbing in her bed, being like, he wouldn't do that to me. I know he wouldn't do that to me. It's like a horror movie.
It
like,
is.
It was so upsetting. I cried. I was like, I can't handle this. I felt like I was trapped in a hell of full of unimaginable evil. Like, it was so dark-sided. I was like, what world have I stumbled into where this is possible?
Temptation Island is so dark.
It's so dark.
This is when I was like, oh, Brianne's a sociopath in addition to Grant? Like,
if you had any doubts, then you see how Brianne responds to this. He opens up the door. Apparently they fucked all night. Like, how is that even possible?
Yes, the birds are chirping.
I can't even.
Right. I hope they were going in rounds because those poor women.
I know. I'm like, here I am inadvertently revealing I've never been in an all-night threesome. I don't know how you do it without chafing.
Also, that's like in the shower. You're standing? My God.
I know.
No, thank you.
They must have been exhausted. And he opens the door. We see like Alex completely naked in the background. He saunters on out. He's like, I feel great. What a great night. I have no regrets. I thought I might have regrets, but I don't.
But I don't. I actually feel amazing.
And then he says,
in a way, I think I'm actually still respecting Shantae because women respect you being true to yourself and honesty. And also, I didn't have one-on-one sex.
Well, that's later. The evolution of this is intense. So first of all, he's like, I'm respecting Shantae because women respect being true to yourself and honesty. And if you're stepping out, just be upfront. And I'm like, okay, sir, that is not about respecting Shantae. That is about Shantae respecting you. It's interesting that the question of how he respects Shantae immediately turns into how Shantae respects him.
Well, yeah.
You know, she respects my honesty. That's me respecting her because she respects me. No, that's has nothing to do with what Shantae wants or what would make Shantae feel respected.
No,
that's a rationalization for doing whatever you want and what you think will lead to you being respected. And also, you're not being honest. You guys set boundaries that you violated without telling her.
Right. You agreed. You mutually agreed on boundaries. And you broke them.
I have this feeling that if he saw Shantae with another man, he would not feel so good about how respectful it is.
Claire, I think that would, she's a godly woman, so.
Oh, the godly woman conversation.
She should be a little bit better behaved.
And then he takes some other steps. He's like, well, first of all, I'm going to show that I'm respecting Shantae by asking a different woman on a date because I don't want to build an emotional connection with one of the women. He's
like, those women were just props. And I want to make it really clear to them and to everyone else watching.
Yeah, that I certainly don't want to have an emotional connection with someone that I've already had sex with. That would be wrong. Some women are for sex, some women are for emotion. So it makes a lot of sense. He views women that way. He has said he doesn't think that he can have both in one woman. And so he chose a girlfriend who is for emotions because he needs that.
Because she's good.
She's good. And then sex is for hot women that he can have sex with and then discard.
Yes.
Later, he then rationalizes that one-on-one sex is sacred for him and Shantae. And a threesome is a different thing. He can keep it player.
I'm honestly obsessed with this.
He's like, that would have been cheating if I had one-on-one sex.
But the threesome, it's like, oh, that's a very convenient carve out that you've created. Does Shantae agree?
Yeah, I think she's actually been pretty clear that she really doesn't agree with that. Then he turns it into, now I know I don't need threesomes, and I had to have the threesome.
I tasted the fruit of the threesome, and I realized I don't need that fruit.
I don't need it. So I'll never ask for one from Shantae again. And I've like fixed our relationship. Now I know that like she's giving me everything that I need sexually. And this is kind of just like when you have food poisoning and you throw up and you're like, I'm never going to need to throw up again. Like you just had the threesome. Of course you feel like you won't need one again. Talk to me in a week. You're going to be like, I miss threesomes.
I was like, the threesome has not worn off.
Right. Like right after you throw up, that's when you're like, I'm done throwing up. And then 15 minutes later, you're back over the toilet bowl. Like we all know how this works. You have temporarily sated your threesome appetite. It's going to come back.
With a fucking vengeance.
Ugh. He's also, as we've said, very confident Shantae will forgive him to an insulting degree. And he's talking to Courtney about this.
But she does.
Yes. She makes him face a little bit more emotional consequence than he maybe initially expected, but not by much. He knew she would be sad. And he was like, she'll take me back anyway. And Courtney is like, why? Courtney asked him, like, why would he do that? Why would she do that? And he says, why wouldn't she? It'll be better for our relationship.
That was actually chilling. Why wouldn't she? He's looks legitimately confused. Like what? It would be good.
And the
for
thing
her.
that gets me is like, I'm supposed to believe he's never cheated on her before. This is the behavior of a man who knows that his girlfriend will take him back because he's done it before.
Oh, this man is out here.
I do not believe
all the
that
time.
He has never cheated on her before.
Zero.
He talks about this like this is an established dynamic between them.
But then he's like, well, obviously I've never cheated. And I've actually never cheated. Even here, it's not cheating because it's here.
Right. It's not the real world. The next night, the red light goes off at the men's house for the first time. And the three men who cheated on their partners the night before are suddenly feeling very shitty and very anxious. And I'm like, oh, Brianne, I'm so sorry. I thought it was actually fine to fuck around as long as you're honest and people really respect that. Or does that only apply to men? Oh, Grant, I thought that you like weren't worried about Ashley anymore. You've really like given yourself over to Natalie.
You've closed the door.
They clearly on some level still expect sexual fidelity
100%.
from their partners. But they don't think it should reflect poorly on them if they cheat. They're like, I'm a good guy. It has nothing to do
They're
with
like,
whether
I'm a good guy who
partner.
just needs sex and needs to be treated like the amazing man that I am.
And needs
How
her
could they
to
do
not,
that to me?
And needs her to not have sex with other men.
Yeah.
Here's what I need. Sex with other women. Her not to have sex with other men.
Her not to
never
say anything mean about me ever.
Her to never express how horrible it makes her feel when I cheat on her with other women. I think I deserve that love. I'm a good man, and I
soft
deserve
love.
It. That's
I deserve that soft love
I need. Natalie gives me that soft love. When Grant talks about soft love, he is talking about the fact that he hasn't fucked Natalie over yet, so she doesn't have any issues to work through with him or any complaints about how
she's
hurt
not
her
criticizing him yet, and also she's 22.
Yeah,
and they've been in a relationship for approximately 1 week. So
yeah.
Smooth sailing.
It also turns out that Ashley just stepped in the tent with Danny and like didn't do anything in there, and she really just did it because she
fuck with them.
Wants to fuck with them. She's like, they will only care if they start to worry that we are also exploring. Like they think they can do whatever they want, and we are never going to do the same.
I loved that she did this.
I know, and it made me so sad that Shantae was like, Shantae doesn't know what's happened yet, but she has been worried that he's cheating on her. And she's like, I still believe in my relationship. I don't want him to like worry about what I'm doing over here.
It's like, oh, honey, he's not.
Yeah, he's not worried. He knows that you are not going to step out on him. He's not worried about that. He's not even worried that you will refuse to take him back after he has
had a threesome
on
national television. I'm curious what the church community thinks about his behavior.
And then Brianne is immediately like, Grant and Natalie, they can't be one-upping us. You need to go in there. And they like send them in there to hook up. And it's like, you're literally still way ahead. Like they have barely started to explore any of their romantic connections. And you're all in like camp relationships. during your fidelity testing.
I hate these people so much.
After the threesome, Brienne, like before it, I was like, Brienne is maybe
Well, you're
only
like,
the.
he
I
does
think
seem
maybe
to
he's only the.
actually like his girlfriend.
Yeah, he seems to like her. He doesn't want her to be sad. He wants to work on himself for her. I think maybe he's only the third worst man. And after the threesome, it's just like shocking reveal after shocking reveal where you're like, this man is
You're like, this man is
not
terrifying.
okay. I'm afraid of him.
I'm truly afraid of him.
You like truly would not want to be alone in a room with him.
No, and that there's a reason that even some of the temptresses start to draw lines with him and being like, I don't want to spend time with you.
And he does this very pointed thing where he's like, I'm going to ask Angel on a date because I already had a threesome with Courtney and Alex. I want to have a threesome with Angel and Amaya next. Moving on. So he takes Angel out and she immediately clocks his bullshit. Like she's asking him questions about what he wants and like his girlfriend and what she wants. And she clocks him.
Oh,
she's
she
like,
reads him
nothing
like
you're saying makes any sense.
book. And he is offended. He's like, she was asking me deep questions and I just found that so off-putting. A woman asking me questions.
Questioning me. But she's like, he's just always contradicting himself. She's like, you say you want a godly woman, but you like threesomes. You love your woman, but you don't open up to her emotionally. How do you sound right now? Dumb. She's like, he doesn't even know what he wants. And she's right. Like, he will sit there and be like, it's important for me that I find a godly woman, but I just love threesomes. And I think that's God made me that way. And what she's kind of pointing to is like, he clearly wants a godly woman so that he never has to worry about what she's up to.
Yeah.
But he feels that if he wants to fuck around, that's how God made
That's
him.
in God's
and he gets to
image.
do that. Would he ever accept this godly woman being like, God made me to want to participate in gangbangs and just maybe I go to a hotel room and men come and run a train on me? Like, no, obviously fucking not. That's the point. He went to a church to find a woman who prioritized like loyalty and forgiveness and standing by her man. And he is going to take advantage of that so that he can fuck around and he never has to worry that she's going to do the same thing.
Right.
Sorry, I'm done. I'm very angry. And then his conversation with Amaya really took things to the next level in terms of the alarm bells going off. He's like in bed journaling and Amaya comes in and is like, I'll journal with you. And he tells her about the threesome, which she didn't know about. And she's like, oh my God, okay. And then he starts telling her how it hurts Shantae when he goes too hard during sex. And she's immediately like, okay, this is like way above my pay grade. I do not want to hear about this.
She's like, I really feel uncomfortable being in this room with you while you say these things to me.
And he's like, why? And she's like, because of how it could be perceived. And he's like, oh, you're not real. You're just worried about perception. I'm trying to really talk to you. And like, you're being
He's basically like, that's your job. It's your job to sit here and receive anything I want to say to you.
I actually wrote down what he says to her. I was so shocked.
He was chilling.
He says, just listen, bro. Just listen. You're a woman. Just listen. You can't be like, I'm here and then not let people talk to you. That's what you're here for.
It is so scary. This is clearly how he views women.
It's like deeply
as receptacles for his sexual needs, as receptacles for his emotional needs, as just like silent walls there for him to talk at. They can't be questioning him.
There's no conception of them as people with their own needs or desires, which is something that we never really see the men acknowledge about the women. Whereas in the women's villa, they will start to say to the men, well, you can't just be here for us. Like, what do you want? Like, what do you want from our relationship? What are you looking for in life? Like, it's so nice that you've been here to support us, but what are you looking for? These men are like, I don't understand. You're a tool who is here
for my
use,
my edification, to just build me up in whatever way I want. Maybe that's have a threesome with me. Maybe that's let me touch you while you don't question me. Maybe that's you sitting there and looking pretty while I talk at you about very uncomfortable things. It's whatever I want.
Yeah. You don't have the right to set a boundary for yourself.
You also don't have like you're not a full person is essentially what he's saying to her. It is really, really gross. And Amaya clocks this and is like, I'm exiting this room.
Yeah.
And she later ultimately declines a date with him as a result.
Yeah. And after she leaves, he's like, I'm dealing with 5-year-olds. And I'm like, you are a 5-year-old. And it's kind of okay when my 5-year-old does this sort of thing because he doesn't understand that his parents are full people. But you're 26. You're 25, 26. Like,
Gross.
You should be able to understand that the women you interact with are just as real,
as
are
you.
just as complete of people as you. They have their own needs, their own boundaries. Their job on the show might be outlined in a certain way, but that doesn't mean that they don't have the right to draw boundaries for themselves. They are not lifeless tools at your disposal.
It's so fucking gross.
Like, the power dynamics of the men's villa are very upsetting because the men are empowered to think of these women as tools.
It's really shitty.
And it really made me wonder, like, what he is capable of when he's not on camera.
No, he really scares me. I don't think this is a safe person, and I'm genuinely concerned about Shantae.
Yeah. So then we get to the third bonfire, and once again, the men's clips that they see are very tame. Like, Taylor's talking to Yemen and exploring their relationship. And Tyler's response to this is that, yes, he has connected with someone himself, and Kay brings a lot of value and is tailored to what he wants from a relationship. Again, like, she's a product. And part of it is just because she's younger, so she doesn't feel like it's time for him to get a job because she's also at a less settled down stage of her life. But whatever, he's like, she's brings a lot of value to my life. She's just the right product for me. Brienne sees Shantae crying in the middle of the night because she's worried that he's cheating, and he looks like a little stricken, and then he's like, well, now I know I don't need a threesome, and I'll just apologize to Shantae and she'll stay because that's a great woman.
Yikes. And this is the point that Mark even seems to get a bit shaken.
Yeah. He's like, who are these psychopaths we've brought here? I've never seen something like this.
He's like, well, did you see she was sobbing uncontrollably?
Yeah, that's a great woman who is crying because of you.
Because of your actions. So, and she hasn't seen that you had a threesome. So what do you think the impact is going to be there? Maybe
worse?
And
Brianna's just like, yeah, no, I guess so. But I think she'll stay. I don't even think I have to make a case to her to stay. I think I'll apologize and she'll stay. She's a great woman. The way that these men really conflate being a great woman with taking male abuse and disrespect and disloyalty is really concerning.
Yeah, it's very scary.
And I think Shantae has deeply internalized that. The other women haven't as much.
No, again, or at least they have like resistance to it. They're like, maybe I have in the past, but that's why I'm here to not fall into that.
Yeah.
And poor Shantae is just like, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
The way we see her react to the threesome clip.
Oh, that's going to be rough.
Yeah.
Lino sees Alexa just having a nice conversation with another Italian boy, and he's like, yeah, that doesn't feel great, I guess. They're just scraping the barrel trying to find upsetting stuff for the men to see because the women are just having nice conversations.
No, at a certain point, they're like, well, I guess I just have to find a clip of your girlfriend crying about how you hurt her because that's like maybe we'll break through.
They're like, here are 2 clip options for the women. She is having a completely friendly and platonic conversation with a man. Or she's crying because she saw her boyfriend maybe cheated on her. except for Grant, because Ashley considers herself single now. So she's been letting herself kind of explore with Danny. And she has like two 22-year-old sweet boyfriends.
I love them. Logan and Danny.
Logan and Danny, who are also like besties. And she ends up kind of going for the shorter, slightly more like hipster
Alt
dirtbaggy looking
yeah.
one. And she's telling him she feels safe with him, and then she kisses him in the tent. And he looks so sad.
They're like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry, man.
You fucked someone in a shower week 1." And they're like, "Wow, it's so rough that after her seeing all weeks of you cheating on her, she's kissed another man."
Like, he says he feels disgusted. He's like, I want her to be happy, but I feel disgusted. Oh yeah, I'm sure you really want her to be
you really
happy.
care about her happiness. That's what I'm seeing.
And Mark has to bring up, like, well, there's a gap between your actions and your behavior. And Grant is like, I'm not a bad person for exploring this connection that I have. And it's like,
You can't tell me I'm bad, Mark. You can't.
Self-examine, challenge, Grant 2025. Like, can you do it? Can you ever look inward without immediately recoiling from the horror you see within your own soul, shutting your eyes and shouting, I'm not a bad person. I'm not a bad person.
No, Claire, because this is a man who is 100% incapable of self-reflection.
Let me ask you a question, Emma. Would a bad
Yes.
person have a daughter? Checkmate.
Now that you've said that, you know what? You make
Yeah.
a strong point. We've never heard of a father being disappointed.
The thing is, no one wants to say that a dad could be a bad dad. So once you point out that you have a daughter, you are going to just be conceded to be a good
dad.
person. Yeah, you obviously are a good dad. And if you're a good dad, can you be a bad person? QED. Like, I have a daughter. Don't you dare say I'm a bad dad to her. I'm definitely, obviously, therefore, a good dad, good person.
I think we proved it.
We've proved it. That's what we call
Grant plus
a
dad
proof.
equals good man.
At the women's bonfire, Ashley sees Grant saying he'd marry Ashley if she'd really put the work in to fix the issues in their relationship. And the women all just laugh in disbelief and whisper, is he crazy?
This was a very satisfying moment. All of the women are looking around each other like, the fuck is
Like,
he
who
on?
is he talking about? Taylor sees Tyler kissing Kay and going in the Haven with her. Shantae sees the threesome and him saying that he has no regrets in the aftermath and that he is still respecting Shantae. And she doesn't seem even able to like emotionally process what's happening.
And you see Mark sort of prompt her to be like, I assume that's painful. Like, he seems a little bit unnerved and a little bit scared that she's not reacting.
Yeah. And it's almost like she can't take it in. She's like, he
No.
wouldn't have done that in the real world.
Yeah,
That's
she's like
not
trying
the
to
Brianna
explain it
I know.
away.
Yeah, and also to just like distance herself from
Right? She's
it.
like, that's not real. That's
not
crazy.
him. That's not who he is. And also, like, at the same time, she's like, it's not worth my tears. Maybe I'll mourn it later, but it's not worth my tears. And also, that wasn't the Brianna I know. And also, in real life, he wouldn't have done it. Maybe in real life, he wouldn't have had access to two incredibly hot women to have an all-night threesome with in the shower. But I do think he would have done it in the real world. And again, I think he has.
And I think he will continue to.
Yeah, 100%. And we see her sort of trying to process this over the next week. Like, she seems really worried about looking dumb. She seems really sad that, like, they had talked about how he was going to make them proud and their kids proud. And now she's like, I can't, how could our kids ever see that?
I was like, honestly, that's a good point.
Yeah.
How could they? That's so chilling.
But you can see her also trying to reckon with like the fact that she wants to stay with him. Like she's
yeah,
like,
well,
I'm
that's
worried,
the thing.
I'm worried I'm going to look brainwashed and I'm not. But like, I'm going to do the thing that makes me look brainwashed, clearly, is
Because she's in love with him and she thinks that being good means having like an endless well of forgiveness of anything he does. And she just doesn't want the outcome to be a breakup. Like, I do think to an extent Taylor and Ashley had processed ahead of time that like a breakup might be the outcome of this experience.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
don't think
Taylor.
Shantae had really allowed that possibility. Ashley the most, I
Mhm,
think, had that in her mind. Taylor is very hurt. Like
mhm.
we don't see her feel relieved, but she draws a line.
Yeah, and I think that Taylor and Ashley both arrived at the island with this sort of like, he has cheated on me, and I need to know that I can trust him again because I don't. And
Right.
for Shantae, it's a little bit more like he's the best, and he's just gonna triumphantly show me that he can be platonic
The
friends with
best.
women, and he's
Yeah.
gonna be the best. She's so deep in her like
Mm.
cognitive dissonance resolution, trying
Yeah.
to resolve it so that it makes sense to her. And it's really
Sucks.
hard to watch. Like, she does seem kind of brainwashed. Like, she does seem
Well,
like,
that's what being in like an emotionally abusive relationship is. It is a
mm,
cult of one.
yeah,
And I think, you know, we see in real time at the end, which we'll get into, but like the way that he is able to manipulate her.
yeah,
And oh, yeah, it's very upsetting.
yeah. She's also very worried about like how sad it is for him. Like, she's like, I'm just so nurturing. The nurturing side of me is sad. It's like, I hate that for him. I don't want that for him. Like, she identifies with being a good woman who is nurturing and loving much more than she identifies with being someone who won't be treated that way, being someone who deserves more respect and loyalty. And so that's the part that she ends up focusing on, is like, I love him. I hate this for him. Like, I want him to have like a healthier approach to this. On that note, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk about sort of the final video messages they send to each other and the final bonfires where the couples decide what to do, and where these piece of shit men, unfortunately, don't get a hard enough time, in my opinion.
Can you keep up? I like love it.
So let's talk about the video messages. Towards the end of the experience, each of the coupled people has the option to record a video message for their partner. They also have the option not to send a message at all. Ashley and Taylor both do not send messages.
Yeah, most of them do. It's just the two women who saw their men cheat and basically were like, now I'm single. And they both are kind of like, I have nothing to say that needs to be said at this point. But Grant does send Ashley a message, which is, it's art.
It is truly incredible.
It's comedy. He doesn't apologize or acknowledge what he did to her. Instead, he talks about how heartbroken he is by how she's talked about him and treated him, and how he's only focused on her feelings and neglected his own. He says, quote, I felt responsible for breaking you, and I felt as a man it was my responsibility to fix you.
Nauseating.
He insists that he's a good man and a good father, and he forgives her and himself. Finally. I had to laugh.
Yeah, I did too. I was like, what?
The delusion is
It's so deep. It's like this man truly believes that when he was like immediately cheating on his girlfriend, that was him being selfless, and he's never put himself first.
And he talks about forgiving himself as if it's been like a long time coming. Grant, you cheated on her repeatedly
and felt no remorse.
And felt no remorse over
He
the course
skipped
of
right
the last
to the self-forgiveness.
over the course of the last 2 weeks. Like, he's continuing to talk about forgiving himself as if it's for something that happened a year ago, which, by the way, isn't even that long. But okay.
Yesterday. It's a thing that happened like today.
It happened yesterday. Like, you haven't even apologized to her yet, and you're forgiving yourself as if it's a long-awaited relief of a burden from your shoulders.
Incredible.
He hasn't apologized to her, but he is forgiving her.
It's so funny.
And then Ashley really takes this on board and is like, yes, I have talked really unkindly about him. And I hate that. Like, I know that's not how I should be talking about my partner. And I want to do better. Not with him. But like, she's like, I should not
She's like,
talk
I
about
should
my partner
probably
that
be
way.
in a relationship where I don't feel the urge to like talk shit about my partner because I have no respect for them. I'm just like, you know what? That's a good call.
Yeah. Like, this really is a temptation island for our era because the level of delusion that's so astonishing, you kind of can't believe that a person can remain tethered to the ground.
You're like, well, that's
they're
what...
that disconnected from reality.
And you're like, oh, it seems like a lot of people are out here floating.
That's kind of the vibe in
the
2025.
Yeah.
Like, you really see how he has kept her hooked into this relationship, feeling like things are her fault.
Yeah, I felt like Ashley needed so badly, actually, to be in this particular weird setting in order to escape him, even temporarily.
Even temporarily, which we'll get to that. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Taylor doesn't send one to Tyler, but he does send one to her. And
again, he is the victim.
He's the victim because he doesn't get a message from her. He's like, I feel clowned. It's like a sick joke.
He's like, she needed to send me a
clowned?
message.
What did you think she was going to say? Like, if you got a message, it would just be like, I knew you were going to cheat on me, you piece of shit. Like, what?
Yeah.
You feel clowned?
Well, he would feel clowned by that too.
And he sends one where he tries to insist that he misses and loves her. And he also doesn't apologize for really like crossing the line. And she's like, if he had apologized or even admitted it, then maybe I could see some growth, but I don't see any growth. Like, these men are
It's so
incapable
creepy
of
the way
taking
that they're like, I
responsibility.
love and miss you. To say you love it, like, that is not love. The way you've been acting is not love.
That's one of the things that's really chilling. Like, I think if these men were able to log on and be like, I know you've seen some things that have been really hurtful. I think it's maybe clear that this relationship is not as strong as I hoped it was, and that
Right.
and that I'm
looking forward to having a real conversation with you. Like,
yeah, like,
I know we've both hurt each other. Anything.
The way that they're able to so confidently and calmly pretend that didn't happen.
They just rewrite reality and are like, well, that's the truth. And no one can tell me otherwise.
Brian's video does acknowledge the boundary he crossed.
Well, he sort of has to.
I mean, you would think that Tyler and Grant especially would too, but like, they don't. But he does acknowledge it, and mostly I think because he really still thinks that they're going to be together, whereas I think Tyler and Grant
are like,
kind of
done.
pretending that they think they're still going to be together, but I don't think they think that.
No, I think they know that they're not.
Do they think it makes them look better to like repeatedly cheat on their partners and develop a romance with another woman and then go in their confessionals and be like, I think we could work it out? It doesn't. It makes them look like psychopaths.
Correct.
So Brian really does think they're going to be together. So he's like, yes, I crossed the boundary. I'm so sorry, but I learned I don't need that. I'm ready to love you in all the ways you deserve. And in hers, she cries and is like, I've done nothing but lift you up, and you've hurt me, and you don't even regret it.
I was proud of her for at least saying that.
Yeah. Alexa and Lino are both just like, I miss you. I love you. I'm learning so much. And mostly I've learned that like, you're the person I want.
Yeah. So they are both like, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
And this brings us to the ending, which is the final bonfire. Each couple is like brought to the bonfire spot in front of Mark, and they each get a turn to speak without the other interrupting, which I think is very smart. Then they have an open conversation where they get to ask questions and being dialogue. And then they each have to choose whether they want to leave the island as a couple, leave by themselves, or leave with someone new from the island.
Yeah, so Shantae and Brian go first, and he shows up ready to lightly grovel, which it's clear he thinks is all he needs to do to get Shantae back. And she like hugs him. Like,
This is really upsetting. I found this so depressing.
this was really hard to watch. It really was like, and I've read a lot of Reddit threads at this point. There's a lot of judgment for Shantae out there, which I understand because you want to see the women have a cathartic moment where they choose themselves. But it seems so clear to me that she, first of all, has been raised to believe that she should do certain things as a woman for the men in her
Yes.
life, and that Brienne has exploited those and manipulated her. And she is like a shell of a person. She's not well.
100%.
I'm really worried about her.
Me too. That's why I found it hard to watch. Not just that like I wanted to see her have a girl power moment, but that I am genuinely scared for her because she is still in this relationship.
Yeah,
And it seems deeply unhealthy. And she feels such an outsized responsibility towards him and the pain that he's been through that it's like no pain that she could experience at his hands will ever overcome it.
Yeah. And this is something we didn't really discuss. But Brianna at like the last bonfire kind of offers as an explanation for his behavior that he had a really unstable childhood, went through the foster system, and faced a lot of abuse. And that has made him sort of struggle with emotionally connecting in relationships. That he uses humor and sex as ways of like seeking connection in a way that feels safe. And I my heart goes out to someone who went through that, including
Me
Brianna.
too,
That's
of
horrible.
course.
And it can definitely contribute to like
Impact
a really messed up way
100%.
of viewing relationships. It did trouble me because this isn't really a deep therapeutic setting, and he isn't taking space to himself to work through that. It's kind of offered in this pat way, like, well, do you have any trauma that could explain the horrific ways you're treating your girlfriend? And he's like, yes, actually,
And the
I
other
do.
women. And the
Right,
other
and
women.
the other women. And he
It's also
offers
just
this.
not, it is not Shantae's responsibility to heal him.
Well, exactly. Like, it does sound like he has been through these awful things. Maybe there's a way that he can work through that and find a healthier way of approaching relationships, but he certainly should not be doing that while he is in a relationship with a woman that has so much power over, that he has a history of treating badly and taking advantage of.
Well, right.
And it's hard to sort of see that being used to sort of be like, well, now that he knows that's why, everything's fine. But it seems more like it might come in handy as an excuse for why he keeps behaving that way. And that doesn't, just because he went through that doesn't mean that she deserves to be treated the way he treats her.
No. I mean, I wish she would have left him, and I'm concerned for her.
Well, and she says, she tries. She's like, I want to leave the island alone. And then Brienne,
he breaks down. He manipulates her.
Yeah, he's like, no, please, like I we better like and she is being like, I need to leave alone. Maybe down the road, if you work on yourself, maybe we could be together again. And he won't let it go.
He rejects that, and she caves. It's like
she doesn't seem happy to be leaving with him at all.
Well, they are still together, so
yeah,
she seems scooped out. Next up, Taylor and Tyler. Taylor arrives and is like, do not hug me, and dresses him down at the final bonfire. She's like, throughout their conversation, she says, you know, I feel like we've never been a team. I feel like I've had to like raise you, and I am not here to like mother you, essentially.
Yeah.
Tyler expresses hurt about the way that Taylor talked about him during the experience. And he's like, you know what? I was tempted by the process, by humility, by values, by growth. I was tempted by growth. And also, yes, another woman. Yes, fine. Fine. You got me. But mostly humility.
A light named Kay, who is so perfect. Cuddling with Kay, it just rolls off the tongue.
Taylor just feels like seems disgusted, and they are really going at each other. And Mark finally interrupts and is like, okay, why don't you focus back on your feelings? And I found this really interesting. Taylor, I think, she like attacks first as a way to protect herself. And then you see her really break down during this final conversation and be like, it was gutting to watch you fall in love with someone else when all I wanted coming into this experience was for you to fall in love with me. And you made me all these promises. And you didn't see any of them through. And so she ultimately decides to leave alone. And she says, I think you probably need to spend time being alone to figure your own things out. But I know you won't.
And he's like, you don't know. I'm going to ride off into the sunset with Kay. Anyway, I do want to leave with Kay.
It's
like,
so
again, he's like,
predictable.
he hates being known by her. He's like, how dare you know what kind of man I am?
But
he
she
is
sees
that
him so
man.
clearly. He's
Yeah.
exactly that man. And yeah, we will get to the aftermath, but predictable. Next up, Ashley and Grant. Grant shows up ready to not apologize
He's learned so
for
much.
a change.
The problem with my relationship is that when I cheated on Ashley, I apologized.
But I
I'm
won't
not doing that
apologize.
anymore.
I won't apologize for who I am, which is a sociopath. I will not apologize. I have a daughter.
I have a daughter. I'm a dad. How dare you? How dare you think a dad could be a bad person?
He's like, Ashley, I always enjoyed chasing you for a long time, but no more. I'm done. The connection I made with someone else was real. It's not out of spite. I forgive myself. He forgives himself twice.
And I forgive you. And Ashley is like, Ashley really speaks for
Oh my
all of
gosh,
us
she's
this
so
moment.
good.
She's like, I truly don't know what goes through your head. I have no idea what you're forgiving me for. You're a serial cheater.
So good.
Like, she's exactly right. Like, what goes through his head? What is happening in there?
She's just like, you're not in reality. Like, what is going on?
It's baffling.
It is so wild.
They're truly like living in two
this man
different
cannot
information
apologize.
ecosystems. Like, he has no idea what she's thinking. What, like, the way that these men do not know their partners and their partners do know, like, the women
they
do
see
know them.
they see them clearly. But I think that's probably part of it for some of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Being seen clearly is the scariest thing that could happen, because then they'd have to actually do some self-examination. They'd have to acknowledge that they've actually been really shitty to a lot of people that loved them.
Yeah.
And like, that's very uncomfortable. So the easier thing to do is to be like, you don't see me. Oh, there's a shiny new object. I'll be with her until she starts to see me. And then I'll leave her.
And I think there's something to be said for like, you might not be able to like improve yourself within a relationship where you've really hurt someone, because they will never be able to forget or let go of it.
Right.
Maybe you need to be with a new person.
Alone.
Maybe you should be with
alone.
a new person. Maybe you should ultimately be with a new person. But these men are unable to look at what they did long enough to learn any lessons from it to take into those new relationships. So going to Kay or to Natalie is not going to fix anything, because they are incapable of looking at their partners and hearing what they're saying and what their partners see in them and being like, yes, I take ownership for those things I did. I need to address that the next time that I have a relationship. They're not capable.
Right.
He can't compute it. He's like, if someone is mad at me, it's because they're mean and they're not fair to me. I'm a good man.
It's true.
Am I sitting here being like, I want to hurt people? No, I'm sitting here thinking,
Claire.
I'm Grant. I'm a dad. I'm good. I want good things for people.
Facts are facts.
He's like, you'll never let go of your resentment. All I've cared about is your feelings, not mine.
I screamed.
Where did he come up with this formulation?
I don't know, but he's sticking to it. He discovered it and he's like, that's good. That's a good one.
The fact that he felt bad for like 3 hours after he had sex with someone else in a shower, he has spun that into like, oh my God, I care so much about Ashley's feeling. I care
I should
too
stop.
much.
I need to stop.
I need to stop. I'm hurting myself with all this guilt I'm feeling about the bad things I've done.
The best part is that after he makes these like audacious claims, he starts crying to show
Yeah.
that he has humanity. He's like, Ashley, I know you're a catch. I know you're amazing. I love you. I'm
so full of
I
shit.
just want you to be happy. Like, this man is so scary.
Terrifying. He's got a chip missing.
Severe. And Ashley is like, you know what? I'm probably not going to date Danny after because he's 22, but I do want to leave with him because we had a great time. And Grant makes the only wise decision he makes in the entire experience and decides to leave alone.
I think that's because he spoke first.
Yeah.
Because I think that if Ashley had said I'm leaving with Danny first, he would have been like, I'm leaving with Natalie.
I think you're right.
He thought he was doing
Well, don't
something.
worry. He gets with Natalie after.
Yeah.
So we end with Alexa and Lino. There's not a lot to say. They're just like express their love.
Yeah.
They're like, we're over our issues. And then he proposes.
Yeah.
So, do you want some updates? Should we get into some updates?
Let's do some updates.
Alexa and Lino still engaged, planning a wedding. They seem happy.
Yeah.
Good for them.
I think
Love
they
that
did
for
like
them.
exactly what they needed to do. He saw that
I
Alexa
agree.
was really committed to him, and she saw that he like explored a little bit, but ultimately he was
Came back to her and was like,
came
what am I
back to her.
doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're happy and good and planning a wedding. Tyler left with Kay, never saw her again. She has said they never saw each other after filming.
Never saw each other.
Not
again.
even once. Incredible
Classic.
stuff. He is now in a new relationship with a woman who, as we've said, looks like a carbon copy of both Taylor and Kay. So,
Yeah.
Sick.
Again, he's like, I can leave with Kay, but let's be real. There are plenty of fish in the sea. And by fish, I mean blonde hotties with a very specific facial structure and body type.
I do, Taylor has since dyed her hair darker. And I was like, I wonder if she's like, I need to like escape men who are into this like type.
I need to look back into this. Did she have blonde hair when she met Tyler? Like, in other words, was the blonde a concession to his type, or is she now like, I need to differentiate myself?
I don't
from
know.
his
That's a
type?
good. I need to go back on her Instagram. I just noticed that she now has like a
it's
dark
darker.
auburn hair.
Yeah.
And she is still, so she is single currently, but she and Yaman seem to be very good friends.
Also, a little more drama is that Taylor has said in comments on social media that Tyler's new girlfriend was actually someone he started dating right after filming. Like 2 weeks after filming, he was taking her to the gym where he and Taylor went together.
So this man had someone lined up.
I mean, he clearly doesn't even need to. He just sees
a
blonde woman with a
woman.
triangular face, and he's like, that one. And she's like, okay.
It's so depressing. I do enjoy Taylor and Yaman's dancing videos, though. They're really
I'm glad
cute.
there's the friendships that were made, especially by the women and the tempters in the villa, are pretty.
The women
sweet.
all seem to be on really good terms with the guys from the house.
Yeah.
Like they're all great friends. They're always hanging out. Like certainly like Danny, Yaman.
Yeah, we didn't talk about this, but Yaman was on Love Island,
which I did not
Also-
know until you told me.
Yeah, I had watched the first season of Love Island USA, and I'd almost forgotten it, but I was like, that man looks familiar. Mia from FY Island was on and had a pretty brief arc. She deserves better than being a tempter.
I know.
this
Mia was
show.
really thrived in being in the lead role. I
Yeah.
thought on FY Island. 'cause
She
we've
was
seen
like,
her
I
on
know
3
this is
different
your
shows
journey,
now.
but like, it really should be my journey. Like,
Yeah.
why are you not asking me out and courting me? This is rude.
Courtney was from Too Hot to Handle.
Yeah, so there are a few return reality TV people, but like I had a different impression of Yaman from Love Island, which makes sense. It's a different kind of show, and he was a bit of a playboy. They have many facets, but the way that the men were sort of like protective of the women and like developed these bonds with them that like
It's
went
really nice.
beyond like sexual interest. I was like, that's nice. Like, wouldn't it be nice if their boyfriends viewed them that way? Like, be so sweet.
Right.
Let's talk about Ashley. She and Grant have had a bit of a roller coaster.
Okay, so apparently, so Ashley is currently single, thank God. But apparently, shortly after filming, she got back together with Grant. I guess it was not like super shortly after. It was a few months later. She says that she stopped speaking to him after filming. So they didn't speak for a few months. And then she ran into him at the bar, like next to her house. And she later discovered, because he told her, that he had been like trolling all of her regular spots to like force a run in, and very much was persistent. And they dated again for 2 months, and it was, quote, a shit show. And now they are broken up again. The nice little twist of this is that while he was pursuing Ashley and dating her again, he had exclusively started dating Natalie. So he cheated on Natalie with Ashley.
Charming.
And was pursuing her hardcore. Grant is currently single. And Natalie and Ashley seem to be on great terms, and they did a live. Did you see this? Where Grant, we're going to talk more about this on our news and gossip episode, but they did a live where Grant called Ashley while they're on the live and like started screaming at her. Like he's so scary.
His obsession with being respected or disrespected is interesting because it's so close to something that I get. You know, I'm like, we all want to be respected by our partner.
Sure.
But the kind of like rage that it provokes in him when someone criticizes him or is open about a terrible thing he did, and the way that he immediately terms it like disrespect, and like disrespect is not acceptable, is such like a toxic masculinity lashing out. Like, as a man, I deserve for
It's
all
scary.
my crimes to be covered up, and all of my woman's like feelings and criticisms to be hidden, because my image as a man needs to be built up, and anything that prevents that is like this ultimate crime of disrespect toward me that can be punished with like infidelity, with emotional and verbal abuse. Like, it's pretty disturbing. Like, his obsession with respect, I think, is very telling and emblematic of like his other flaws
I
as a
agree.
partner.
And this brings us to Shantae and Brienne, who are still together, unfortunately.
Yeah, he posted like a reel being like, suck it, haters, we're still together. She doesn't seem to have like
She posted
much.
She posted
about it.
nothing. I think
Yeah.
she's probably processing a lot, and he is incapable of processing anything negative about himself. So
Yeah.
I think he's thriving.
He's been posting kind of like combative social media posts directed at his haters. Like, of course, everyone hates you. You're such a complete piece of shit on the show. And he's been posting these combative things on social media, and then like, well, joke's on all of you because I'm still in a relationship. And I'm like, even this is like so disrespectful to Shantae and what you put her through, to use her as like a mic drop. Like, I don't know. I hope that she hasn't posted because she is plotting her escape.
I know. Get girl, fucking run.
Like, I understand it's like people are frustrated that like she didn't choose herself, that she bought into this, but like that is actually what a lot of relationships look like before they're able to leave. Like,
That's the
you are
thing.
seeing her, I think, really in the midst of a really toxic and dangerous dynamic for her. And I don't think that we want that narrative for us as an audience to end with the empowering, like, and then she leaves moment. But I don't think that it makes her inherently worse or weaker than someone we see at a later point in their process.
Yeah,
of
I
breaking free
completely
from
agree.
something
That
like
is like
this.
a very common dynamic in toxic relationships. And I just hope for her sake that she figures out a way to extricate herself from him, because I do not trust that man to
Not at all.
keep her safe in any capacity. And on that note, I think we have to end this episode of Love to See It with Emma and Claire.
Love to See It is a presentation of Odyssey. The show is produced by us, Claire Fallon and Emma Gray. This episode was edited by Tori Piskin. Our theme music is by Tamar Haviv, and our art is by Aaron Nestor.
If you like our show, remember to follow us, rate us 5 stars, leave a review, and of course, Spread the word to all of your friends about Love to See It.
Yeah, send them a video message. Make sure not to acknowledge any wrongdoing. Just tell them you would love for them to listen to Love to See It. If you want to get in touch, you can email us at claireandemmapod@gmail.com.
You can also find us on TikTok at Love to See It Pod and on Instagram at Claire and Emma Pod. And you can find our newsletter Rich Text on Substack at claireandemma.substack.com. I'm also on Blue Sky at Emma Gray and on Instagram at EmmaLadyRose.
And I'm at Claire E. Fallon. Special thanks to the team at Odyssey. Eric Donnelly, Aaron Constantino, Kate Rose, Moira Curran, Melissa Wester, Carly Snyder, and Hillary Schupf.
We'll be back soon.